On the morning of August 14, 2005, Helios Flight 522 was preparing to take off from Larne Airport to Athens Airport, Greece. 9:07 a.m. flight takes off. There were 121 people on board, including 115 passengers and 6 flight crew members. The flight was piloted by German pilot Hans-Jürgen Martin, who had over 16,900 hours of flying experience. The co-pilot was 51-year-old Pam Saralems, who had about 7,449 hours of flying experience. Just after 15 minutes of flight, the plane reaches a height of 12,040 feet at exactly 9:12 minutes. And after the plane reached this height, suddenly an alarm rang. The pilots realized that it was a takeoff configuration alarm. They couldn't think of anything else, because the takeoff configuration alarm rang just before the plane took off. But the pilots could not understand why the alarm sounded suddenly at the height of 12,000 meters, so they contacted the ATC to find out. The pilot was explaining everything to the ATC. Just at that moment, another terrible alarm sounded. Due to several alarms going off in the cockpit, the pilot could not be heard from the ATC control room. At the same time, the plane's master caution alarm went off, which meant that several of the plane's systems had overheated simultaneously. The pilots could not understand what was happening all of a sudden. The passengers got excited after hearing these alarms. As the crew members tried to calm them down, the passengers could sense the absence of oxygen as they breathed in, and just then the oxygen max in auto mode dropped. At this time the plane was at an altitude of 18,000 feet. The pilot made repeated attempts to contact the control room. But the pilot's words were not reaching the ATC. The contact of the plane with the ATC was completely lost in no time. ATC then tried to contact the plane several times. But they failed time and time again. The plane continued to climb higher and higher. The plane takes 1 hour and 45 minutes to reach Athens on this route, i.e. the plane was scheduled to reach Athens at 10:45. At 9:30 the plane climbed to an altitude of 34,000 feet. The plane then arrived at the Athens Flight Information Area at 9:37. From 10:12 to 10:50 minutes, repeated attempts were made to contact the plane from the Athens Air Control Room, but they were unable to contact Plenty. At 10:45 p.m., exactly when Plenty was scheduled to land at Athens Airport, the plane was nowhere to be found. Suspecting something terrible had happened, 2 F-16 fighter jets from Athens ETC were dispatched to search for the jet plane. After some time the fighter jet found the plane. A fighter jet plane comes very close. I see the pilot of the fighter jet. Someone is sitting in the co-pilot's seat. And the main pilot is unconscious with his head down. Fighter jet comes back, looking out the window of the plane to see. Despite 2 fighter jets following from the plane, no passengers were looking at them. There is no reaction in them. At exactly 11:49 the pilot of the fighter jet saw an unidentified man walking towards the computer from the train cabin. For some time he sat in the pilot's seat of the plane. The fighter jet pilot started giving signals to the man and the fighter jet pilots trying to say something. But she couldn't tell either way. A minute later, the plane's left engine stopped working. And the Plenty veered to the left and continued to fall. At exactly 12:10 minutes the Plenty's starboard engine also stopped working. The person lost control of the plane completely. At 12:15 the plane crashed into a heavy area 4 kilometers from Athens, killing all on board in the crash. Imagine the feeling of 2 fighter plane pilots watching 121 people die instantly. They were just watching, but could not do anything. Then the incident of the Helio Plenty crash became the headline of all the newspapers, and it was known all over the world. The rescue operation was informed quickly. All the dead bodies were taken out of the plane. But after the autopsy of the dead bodies, the researchers realized that everyone on the plane had died long before the plane crashed. Several questions remain here. Who was controlling the plane for 2 hours when the pilot was already dead? The answer is, as I said earlier, someone was seen coming towards the computer. It was Andreas, the flight attendant. In the moments before the plane crashed, Andreas tried to contact the air control room in Athens. Andreas continued to say Metamidi to the control room 5 times. Andreas had no experience controlling a Boeing plane, but eventually managed to steer the plane into an uninhabited area. Experts can investigate. The plane's left engine ran out of fuel as the plane banked to the left, but investigating officers later learned the real cause. They found a button on the control panel. It was the plane's pressurized button. The officers could understand everything by looking at this button. Actually, this pressurized button controls the airflow in the plane. These engines slowly introduce outside air into the plane so that there is no lack of oxygen in the plane. And this extended button is kept in automatic mode. And if this button is kept in manual mode, then captain and co-pilot have to look at it. To find out why this happened, the plane had to go back a day before takeoff. When this plant is taken for routine service, there the plane is checked and prepared for service, and this is where the service manager hands over the plane to the pilot with the pressurized button in manual mode. During the checkup, the pilot and co-pilot had no time to look at the pressurized button, so the button remained in manual mode. As a result, there is a gradual lack of oxygen in the plane. The passengers started getting headaches. The pilots heard the alarm correctly, but unfortunately they lost focus on the pressurized button. This results in a severe oxygen deficiency in the plane, and the pilots slowly lose consciousness. The oxygen masks in the cabin automatically lowered, so the passengers got oxygen for a moment. But the oxygen mask in the pilot's cockpit does not come down automatically. So slowly everyone on the plane starts losing consciousness one by one, because the oxygen mask only provides oxygen for 12 minutes. So then everyone passes out except for one, the flight attendant Andreas. You may be wondering why Andreas did not experience any oxygen deficiency. Andreas was actually a scuba diver, and scuba divers can hold their breath for long periods of time. So Andreas continued to breathe in this situation for quite some time, already all dead. And Andreas tried to land plenty with his maximum. But it ultimately fails, and the plane crashes, killing everyone. The Athens Airport Authority published a report 15 months after the incident. The button was supposed to be in auto mode, but the servicemen put it in manual mode, and the pilot men didn't notice it. If the servicemen had set it up in auto mode, then maybe such a tragic accident would not have happened. If you like the video, then share it, and if you like to watch such mystery thriller uncommon interesting videos, then subscribe to Habby Nish channel now and press the bell icon next to it. So see you in the next video. Until then, stay well, thanks.